Our school communities and the young people in our state who grew to love poetry a little bit more this year because of Poetry Out Loud, thank all of you. We may not be able to measure the effect of this project on a standardized test, but boy does it matter. I have no doubt that these 10 young people here today could advocate for that. The students here today are regional champions from among the Missouri schools that conducted official Poetry Out Loud contests. These students advanced in the competition to become the 10 regional champions, the 8th to represent our state. And one of the contestants will be the 2013 Missouri State Champion to represent us at the national finals. That student will receive $200 and an all-expenses-paid trip to Washington, D.C. to compete for the national championship in April. Additionally, the Missouri Arts Council presents the state champion's family a $1,000 travel stipend to be used for the trip to accompany the student. The state winner's school will receive a $500 stipend for the purchase of poetry books and a trophy to be kept at the school. The runner-up will receive $100 and $200 for books for his or her school. All of the regional champions here today will be receiving medals to commemorate their achievement. Let's talk quickly about what will happen in today's contest. The students have chosen from an official anthology which contains over 600 poems, demonstrating their ability to memorize, interpret, analyze, and recite. The students will introduce each poem with the title and poet before beginning their recitation of each piece. The competition is in 3 rounds, with all students performing their first poems, and then all students performing their second. Then we will take about a 10-minute break in between round 2 and 3, just for a quick bathroom break or to get a drink and let our contestants stand up for a minute. You then will see us move into round 3. You may see me hesitate a bit in between each recitation. I will have a little bit of information to provide you about the contest or about the next student that's about to perform, but I may need to hesitate a bit to give our judges time to complete their scoring of the previous recitation, and then we'll start again with the next student when we're ready. Our first competitor participated in recitation competitions in middle school and junior high. So when she found out about the state high school contest, she knew she wanted to be involved. Sara says recitation allows her to express the rhythm of a poem and the emotion behind the poet's words. This is Missouri's Central Regional Champion, Sara Ashbaugh.
I know, I remember, but how can I help you? By Hayden Carruth. The Northern Lights. I wouldn't have noticed them if the deer hadn't told me. A doe, her coat of pearls, her glowing hoofs, proud and inquisitive, eager for my appraisal. And I went out into the night with electrical steps, but with my head held also proud, to share the animal's fear and see what I had seen before. A sky, flaring and spectral, greenish waves and ribbons, and the snow, under the strange light, tossing in the pasture like a storming ocean, caught by a flaring beacon. The deer stands away from me, not far, there among bare black apple trees. A presence I no longer see. We are proud to be afraid, proud to share the silent magnetic storm that destroys the stars and flickers around our heads like the saints' cold spiritual agonies of old. I remember, but without the sense, other light storms, cold memories, discursive and philosophical in my mind's burden. And the deer remembers nothing. We move our feet, crunching bitter snow, while the storm crashes like God wars down the east. We shake the sparks from our eyes. We quiver inside our shocked fur. We search for each other in the apple thicket. A glimpse, an acknowledgement. It is enough and never enough. We toss our heads and say goodnight, moving away on bitter, bitter snow. Thank you.
Our second presenter indicates she has always loved to read and started to like poetry because it was challenging to her. She's a fan of a wide range of poets, including her favorite, E.E. Cummings. She says poems are like puzzles to her. Sara says, poetry is more exciting than people realize. It's a beautiful way to express emotion and experience. This is the Kansas City North Regional Champion, Sheppard.
Bright Star by John Keats. Bright star, would I were steadfast as thou art, not in lone splendor hung aloft the night and watching with eternal lids apart, like nature's patient, sleepless eremite, the moving waters at their priest-like task of pure ablution round earth's human shores, or gazing on the new, soft-fallen mask of snow upon the mountains and the moors. No, yet still steadfast, still unchangeable, pillowed upon my fair love's ripening breast, to feel forever its soft fall and swell, awake forever in a sweet unrest, still to hear her tender taken breath, and so live ever, or else swoon to death.
Poetry Out Loud has increased our next students' desire to read and understand the works of different writers, saying, I'm very happy to have had the opportunity to compete because it's helped me grow in many ways, to understand human plight, history, beauty, and many other things. Alyssa said, it has also improved my confidence in speaking in front of others, but I'm still working on that. Here is the Kansas City South Regional Champion, Alyssa Moncure.
Cage Bird by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill. For the cage bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a cage bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill. For the cage bird sings of freedom.
I'm going to guess you're already rather impressed with the confidence and composure of these young people. Our next student says when she performed in the past, she was nervous. She'd start to laugh. But Poetry Out Loud has helped her ignore her nervousness. She feels this competition shows her what she's capable of achieving. Allie says, through this project, she learned if she wants something and she's willing to work for it, anything is possible, even overcoming laughter when presenting. This is the Northeast Regional Champion, Allie Walker.
Ego by Denise Duhamel. I just didn't get it. Even with the teacher holding an orange, the earth, in one hand, and a lemon, the moon, in the other, her favorite student, the sun, standing behind her with a flashlight, I just couldn't grasp it. This whole citrus universe, these bumpy planets revolving so slowly, no one could even see themselves moving. I used to think if I could only concentrate hard enough, I could be the one person to feel what no one else could. Since a small tug from the ground, a sky shift, the earth changing gears. Even though I was only one mini speck on a speck. Even though I was merely a pinprick and one goosebump on the orange, I was sure then I was the most specially perceptive, perceptively sensitive. I was sure then my mother was the only mother to snap. The world doesn't revolve around you. The earth was fragile and mostly water. Just the way the orange was mostly water if you peeled it. Just the way I was mostly water if you peeled me. Looking back on that third grade science demonstration, I can understand why some people gave up on fame or religion or cures. Especially people who have an understanding of the excruciating crawl of the world, who have a well-developed sense of spatial reasoning and the teeniness that it is to be one of us. But not me. Even now, I wouldn't mind being God. The force who spins the planets the way I spin a globe, a basketball, a yo-yo. I wouldn't mind being that teacher who chooses the fruit, or that favorite kid who gives the moon its glow.
Well, there's an example of a poet that didn't live in everydayness. Lovely. Our next competitor has Poetry Out Loud running in her family. She says, ever since I went to my older sister's Poetry Out Loud competition, I knew it was a project I'd be interested in when I got old enough. And here she is. Andrea says this activity has sparked her interest in poetry. And when reciting poems with her own interpretation, she feels able to bring the poem to life. With her first recitation, this is the Northwest Regional Champion, Andrea Hall.
If Mama Could See by Lucille Clifton. If Mama could see, she would see Lucy sprawling, limbs of Lucy decorating the backs of chairs, Lucy hair holding the mirrors up that reflect odd aspects of Lucy. If Mama could hear, she would hear Lucy's song rolled in the corners like lint, exotic webs of Lucy sighs, long Lucy spiders explaining to obscure gods. If Mama could talk, she would talk, good girl, good girl, good girl, clean up your room. Thank you.
Hundreds of thousands of students participate in classroom and local contests throughout our country. About 365,000 last year. Missouri consistently ranks in the upper 10 to 15% of the nation in participation alone. But there are schools that don't take advantage of this project. We're thrilled when we get new participation from schools. That's the case with Callie's school. This is the first year they have participated. When her teacher, Mrs. Sargent, mentioned it in Honors English, our next performer reports, I knew I wanted to be the school's first winner. And here she is. She's also the Southeast Regional Champion, Callie Lewis.
In the desert, by Stephen Crane. In the desert, I saw a creature, naked, bestial, who, squatting upon the ground, held his heart in his hands and ate of it. I said, "Is it good, friend?" "It is bitter." "Bitter," he answered, "but I like it, because it is bitter, and because it is my heart."
Our next competitor has always loved memorizing song lyrics. In 7th grade, she switched to memorizing a narrative poem and recited parts of The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. When you commit a poem to memory, it becomes part of you, Patricia says. You get to decide what the poem means to you personally, and it goes from being confusing words on a page to something you can connect with on an emotional level. The next recitation is by the Southwest Regional Champion, Patricia Flanagan.
Hap by Thomas Hardy. If but some vengeful god would call to me from up the sky and laugh, "Thou suffering thing, know that thy sorrow is my ecstasy, that thy love's loss is my hate's profiting," then would I bear it, clench myself, and die, steeled by the sense of ire unmerited, half eased in that a powerfuler than I had willed and meted me the tears I shed? But not so. How arrives it joy lies slain, and why unblooms the best hope ever sung? Crass casualty obstructs the sun and rain, and dicing time for gladness casts a moan. These purblind doomsters had as readily strown blisses about my pilgrimage as pain.
Our next student's first experience with poetry recitation was in the 2nd grade. He recited "When I Grow Up" by Jack Perletsky for the school's first annual patriotic poetry recital. That was followed by Tom's recitation of Ken Nesbitt's "The Aliens Have Landed" in 3rd grade. Those two pieces are not on the Poetry Out Loud anthology, so Tom was required to expand his repertoire a bit, and he was eager to do so. This is the St. Charles County Regional Champion, Thomas Fields.
As Kingfishers Catch Fire by Gerard Manley Hopkins. As kingfishers catch fire, dragonflies draw flame. As tumbled over rim in roundy wells stones ring, like each tucked string tells, each hung bell's bow swung finds tongue to fling out broad its name. Each mortal thing does one thing and the same, deals out that being indoors each one dwells. Selves. Goes itself, myself it speaks and spells, crying, "What I do is me. For that I came." I say more. The just man justices, keeps grace that keeps all his goings graces, acts in God's eye what in God's eye he is. Christ. For Christ plays in 10,000 places, lovely in limbs and lovely in eyes not his to the Father, through the features of men's faces.
When asked how she became involved in this project, the next student reported that each year during Poetry Out Loud season, all students in her school are required to learn a poem and recite it in front of their English classes. According to Essence, this year when Poetry Out Loud season came back around, I was really excited about it and took it seriously. I've grown fond of this competition. What I'm most fond of, Essence, is that your school has a poetry out loud season. I'm thinking it's somewhere between football season and basketball season. Okay, well, it's good to know. The St. Louis City Regional Champion is listed in your program as Essence Lee, but she prefers to be called Essence Imani, and here she is with her first recitation.
I Find No Peace by Thomas Wyatt. I find no peace, and all my war is done. I fear and hope. I burn and freeze like ice. I fly above the wind, yet can I not arise. And naught I have, and all the world I season, that loseth nor locketh, holdeth me in prison, and holdeth me not. Yet can I escape no wise, nor letteth me live, nor die at my device. And yet of death it giveth me occasion. Without iron I see, and without tongue I plain. I desire to perish, and yet I ask health. I love another, and thus I hate myself. I feed me in sorrow and laugh in all my pain. Likewise, displeaseth me both life and death. And my delight is causer of this strife. Thank you.
Second grade must be a big year for poetry in the Missouri State Standards. I don't really remember that, but our next competitor remembers that in second grade she was given a weekly assignment to memorize and recite a poem, which is pretty ambitious, I'd say, for second grade. She recalls some students didn't put much feeling into their assignments, but she would. Berklea recalls that it was hard for her to believe that any student could not express full emotion when reciting, "My dog has got no manners. I think he's very rude. He always whines at dinner time when we are eating food." No kidding. How could they not find deep emotion in that? This is the last competitor in round one, the St. Louis County Regional Champion, Berklea Going.
The Truly Great by Stephen Spender. I think continually of those who were truly great, who from the womb remembered the soul's history through corridors of light, where the hours are suns, endless and singing, whose lovely ambition was that their lips, still touched with fire, should tell of the spirit, clothed from head to foot in song, and who hoarded from the spring branches the desires falling across their bodies like blossoms. What is precious is never to forget the essential delight of the blood drawn from ageless springs, breaking through rocks and worlds before our earth. Never to deny its pleasure in the morning simple light, nor its grave evening demand for love. Never to allow gradually the traffic to smother with noise and fog the flowering of the spirit. Near the snow, near the sun, in the highest field, see how these names are feted by the waving grass and by the streamers of white cloud and whispers of wind in the listening sky. The names of those who in their lives fought for life, who wore at their hearts the fire center. Born of the sun, they traveled a short while toward the sun and left the vivid air signed with their honor. Thank you.
And that is the end of round 1. So take a deep breath. I do think those 10 poems and those 10 young people certainly remind me why it's good to get up every day and go to school. We try to focus on deep reading and close reading and critical thinking and speaking and listening, and they are evidence of that good work.